Good morning, everybody. The citizen developer, it's a term that Microsoft uses a ton. And today we're going to figure out and have a great discussion if everyone is meant to be a developer or not. Stay tuned. In 30 seconds, I've got three amazing guests to have just that conversation. Well, good morning, everybody. Hey, guys, my name is Jeff DeVerter. I am the Chief Technology Evangelist here at Rackspace Technology. And thank you so much for being a part of our program here today. This is Solve Live, and Solve Live is intended, well, just to bring you information. Nothing to sell here. We're just here to talk about all the greatness that's happening in technology and how it can have an impact in your world. Now, I want to encourage you to introduce yourself. Let me know that you're here, where you're coming in from. All of this stuff I find really interesting, and it helps us, have a better conversation if I can refer to you by name and where you are. Well, good morning, LinkedIn user, and good morning. I can't pronounce your name, and I'm going to mess it up on live if I don't practice it. So I'm just glad you're here. Thanks so much for being a part of our program here today. Hey, a new thing here. I would love for you to send us an email. That email is solve@rackspace.com. Now, you can tell me anything you want to tell me. What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? But more specifically, I want to know, either what questions you have in tech that you would love for us to discuss. Well, that's actually it. What questions do you still have or wondering about some, the flow of where the cloud is going, how you can apply it? That's what I would love to know. Because that is going to absolutely influence what we're talking about here. And I want to bring more content that is exactly the kind of stuff that you want to hear. All right, we have John from San Antonio. John, I'm so glad that you are here. The home of Rackspace's corporate headquarters over at Windsor Park Mall. And Sanjeev from India. Glad that you are here. Guys, be like John and Sanjeev. Introduce yourselves. Let us know who you are. So, hey, I've got three amazing guests coming in here just shortly. They are Rackers. That means they work with us here at Rackspace. Teresa, Jason, and Jerry as well. Jerry's new to the program, so it'll be nice to Jerry when he comes on later. But we'll have some great stuff to talk about then. All right, as always, we follow this format. This week in cloud releases, and we get into our discussion and what's on your mind. We're probably going to put Jerry on the hot seat for that one. And but let's get started and let's push all the right buttons and make all the things work. I want to tell you about something that's going on in an article that I read from over at ZDware. And it's the topic of how hybrid, the right recipe for mixing on-prem and cloud computing. Hey, James, glad that you're here. Eduardo from San Antonio, so glad that you are here as well. And Algier in Africa. That's the first time we've had someone from Algier in Africa. Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Well, let's talk. We talk about cloud computing all the time here on Solve Live. But we haven't really discussed a lot about the hybrid implementations, meaning utilizing either more than one cloud or utilizing both public and private cloud. Now, here's an interesting article that producer Daniel's going to drop in the chat at some point here this morning. He may put them all in. He may put them one by one. Who knows what he's going to do? But here we're talking about the value in thinking about what types of clouds your workload should be running in, be them public, be them private, or even single tenant infrastructure that are local. We've all heard about how Dropbox left AWS in the course of 2 years, saved $75 million on infrastructure. But don't think that you're just going to go and get checks dropped into your mailbox or not have to write some really big ones, because there's a lot of other stuff that you have to think about when you're going to run internally on your own infrastructure. Patching, all of this comes back. Disaster recovery, all of that becomes things that you have to figure out on your own and how you're going to do that, unless you're using, managed colocation or a managed hoster. but it still has to be considered. But it not necessarily to scare you off, but really what you need to think about is what is the right infrastructure for each application that you're going to run. But I'll challenge you, if you have more than two, and we sort of all do, good morning, Terry, I'm glad you're here. If you have more than one, then the complexity actually isn't just 1 + 1, it's 1 plus some more. Meaning, how are these applications and infrastructure going to talk to one another if they need to? How are you going to monitor them? How are you going to patch between them? How are you going to know what's running in each of these locations? All of these are things that you have to think about. All right. Also in the news, if you know me, you know I love me some RPA. Now, RPA, as this title says, is they call it the totally unsexy technology. I mean, it's how do we get people from not having to type things into and manage spreadsheets and let the bots kind of take care of some of that stuff. Well, as you read about in this article, the amount of money that's being saved annually right now is staggering. Now, what's happening with this is it's taking these mundane, repetitive jobs that humans have traditionally done, and we're programming software to do that. There's a lot of, there's some leaders in the place, in this marketplace. UiPath is one of them. Microsoft's Power Platform, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And Automation Anywhere plays into that as well. And so while RPA is arguably not the most sexy of technologies, these low-code, no-code solutions really are making a significant impact. And what it does is it frees humans up to be able to go do those things that either are more challenging, more interesting to them, or just, quite frankly, have greater value to the organization. All right, that's what's new in the news. So let's push that button and let's push this button and get on to the cloud releases. How about some music? Because I have nothing better to do. Just kidding. All right, let's start with AWS. Amazon has a couple of releases this week I wanted to talk about. The first, Amazon Simple Email Service now offers a new console experience. Now, this is interesting because, this isn't email like you want to go check your email. This is broadcasting email out to the world as part of your application. And they have a whole new experience in their console built for that. And it also has picked up tons of performance increases, and it now offers a new optimized way for folks to collect their logs, get their activity, their even monitor their reputation as they spam the world through their applications utilizing the Simple Email Service, or SES. All right, thank you, AWS. New also from AWS is now Amazon MemoryDB for Redis now supports AWS CloudFormation. The benefit here, folks, CloudFormation, that's how you programmatically tell the cloud what you want it to do. This is huge because people shouldn't be doing these things. It should be scripted. It should be coded. It should be part of the development process, how these things get deployed, and it should be part of source control. So now you can actually do that as part of Amazon MemoryDB in support of Redis, which is great. Now, new from Azure, we got to talk about all the clouds here, is we have a public preview of multiple backups per day for Azure Files. Now, this is huge because it now allows you to create, before you could only do one a day. And now you can do as many a day. If I could do basic math, then you'd know that their recovery point objective you can achieve now is 4 every 4 hours. So you can roll back to 4 hours, which is huge, much better than 1 a day. Now, also is a general availability of Azure Functions extensions now for Blobs, for queues, for Event Hubs, for Service Bus, and even for GitHub. So that means that Azure Functions can receive inputs. They can send messages out to all these different locations now, which is fantastic. Event Grid, how about that? I love me some Event Grid. Now let's talk about Google Cloud. They have a document. This one's cool. Document translation. Document translation for cloud translation, advanced version 3. Now there's some really cool stuff that's in here. Even being able to translate web pages on the fly. They were able to do that before, but now they can do it retaining fonts for those languages that are right to left reading. They can now work in that. Tons of updates there. Encourage you to go over to Google and read about that. And also, AutoML action recognition. There's some really cool stuff going on here. So the streaming API It's a beta feature for video intelligence for API for real-time versions of and creating the ability to get in and create dynamic recognitions, custom object recognitions. There's some really powerful stuff going on here. So go and check that out. All right. And with that, I think we're on to our cloud discussions. Are we? I think we are. Oh, wait, I got to leave it in this mode right here. Look at me. I can't even push all the right buttons. Woo! All right, because I want to introduce you to a couple of folks. First, I'm about to bring up Teresa Cortez. Teresa was with us a week or two ago, and she's a product manager over here at Rackspace, and many years of experience in the Microsoft tool suite. Also, Jason Fox, longtime Racker, super smart guy, little ray of sunshine. You're going to enjoy his banter, but really smart dude. He's a product architect here at Rackspace. Now, not only new to the program, but relatively new to Rackspace is Jeremiah, or Jerry, Sauder. Now, I've been told, and you should know this, that don't call him Jeremiah. That's what his mom calls him when he's in trouble. So we're going to be careful about that. But with that, why don't we go ahead and bring our friends up to the stage? And I'm just excited about this conversation. Here's Teresa, here's Jason, and there is Jerry. So welcome, everyone. So just real quickly, Teresa, would you mind introducing yourself and what you do for us here at Rackspace?
Sure. So I am the product manager here at Rackspace for Microsoft 365 and Dynamics 365, and looking forward to discussing this with you all.
Fantastic. Jason, please.
Hi, I'm Jason Fox. I'm a product architect on the Modern Workplace team, so working with Teresa on all of our Microsoft productivity stuff.
That's fantastic. But you have a long history at Rackspace doing some pretty amazing things, managing our the exchange offerings that we've had, and just things at some amazing scale. So, but also we have Jerry Sauder. Jerry, you're new. You get a longer introduction. Why don't you tell us about yourself and how long you've been playing in the Microsoft space?
All right, yeah. So Jerry Sauder, I've been working with Microsoft since let's see, I got out of the Marine Corps in 2007, so since about 2009, actually.
All right.
Been playing with Power Platform since before it was even released to the public. Been in the consulting world for quite some time now. I am new to Rackspace, started in August, and I am delivery architect. So I am working with the professional services team, delivering and working with the clients as they're deploying their Power Platform and Dynamics 365 solutions.
Excellent. Well, everyone, welcome. We've got some more folks who are saying hi. James, we're glad that you are here. And Professor Carlos, we are glad you're here as well. Bienvenidos. And so educational language systems, right to left, writing rocks. Well, then you're going to love that new service from over at Google. So, so this conversation we were going to have today really kind of stems out of a bit of a chat that I had with Jason. And we talk about this citizen developer. Microsoft talks about it every chance that they get. Jason was a little frustrated, weren't you, Jason? You said, "Hey, man, they're saying everybody's going to be a developer," but I beg to differ. Maybe you can just share your thoughts initially on that.
Yeah, I mean, fair warning, or to preface it, I am a developer and have been for my entire life, so I have some preconceived notions about how software is built, but what I'll say is I think that what they're trying to do is make it possible for anyone who wants to be a developer, not make everyone a developer or make everyone think that they should be a developer. And you could see the pivot this year pretty heavy, I think anyways, where Microsoft is talking a lot more about what they call fusion teams, which is about bringing professional developers and business experts and sort of the in-between glue together into a team so that people can do what they're good at, right? And the biggest thing that you have to worry about with a lot of those things is sort of security and scale, and that's a professional developer problem that requires that kind of skill set. So, but there's room for everybody, and that's why the platform's so cool, is it makes that room.
There really is room for everybody at this table. Now, I'm a fan of the fusion table concept, or the fusion team concept, because it does bring to the table, the three ingredients that have been caused software development, in my opinion, to move relatively slowly in the past. And that was, you had your developers that sat over here, and you had the business that said, I sure wish we could have this thing. And then you had some analyst who scampered back and forth trying to translate that to the developers, and then taking questions back to the business teams. Teresa, maybe we'll pop over to you for a second. What's your experience been in this as far as how you've seen Microsoft's tool set and their approach growing over the years in this way?
Yeah, it definitely gives a little bit more power to the frontline user, of course. But, like we said, we're not all developers. And so we definitely need that expert help. And then there's also, governance that goes behind it. So who should have access and developing those tools. And then also just that whole thought process on thinking through the beginning to the end as to what you're trying to accomplish, right? And so you don't want to take a backward step and put in a field and then realize maybe it needs to be a calculated field and then have to go back and try to adjust it. So it's really bringing all the teams together that need to work together to make it a smoother process. Right. But like you said, we're not all developers, and we definitely don't need to be, but it definitely helps improve and speed that process from start to beginning.
Yeah. So Jerry, maybe over to you. So by your title, delivery architect, you're out there in the trenches making things happen. So with your experience over the years, how has this maturing of the offering, impacted the day-to-day, teams that are implementing these types of solutions?
So day to day, it really speeds up the process of being able to develop these applications and these processes on the back end. Because the developers, when they're working in this system, it's a fairly simple system compared to what they're used to using, right? So for a developer, it is easy for us to go in and to power apps and build that application for those users. And then, for the business analysts to be able to say, hey, let's move a button up here that allows us to edit the form. So, time for delivery is really sped up with these Fusion teams when we're delivering these projects.
That's excellent. Hey, we've got some good comments going on in the chat, but I want to challenge everyone in the chat. I have a question for you. If I'd been more prepared, I'd had a survey for you. But is your organization utilizing the Microsoft Power Platform? I'm curious to know how it's being used, because this is a global audience. I mean, we got somebody here from Algiers, for Pete's sake. So whether you're watching this live or after the fact, go ahead and just comment down below and let us know. Even percentages. Yeah, we're using it a little, we're using it some, we're using it a lot. Love to know that. So, Jerry, back to you. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned how, being able to, through the Power Platform, create solutions. Now, it's consulting at this point. So the answer is it depends, but I'm not going to let you say it depends. So how quickly, and maybe you can put some scale around it, size of application, things like that, but how quickly can something go from, hey, I wish we had to, this is perfect?
Yeah, well, as a consultant, we always say it depends, but the range is we've developed applications that we can deploy in a week. Yeah. To those that might take maybe a month, but in the scale of when we're looking at what it would be outside of the Power Platform, we're talking 6 months to a year to develop these type of applications.
Right. And so when, because of the fact that you're not having to write from scratch, like, Jason, who is a classic software developer, or has the heritage of a software developer, where you have to think about all aspects of the layers. So from storage to the business logic up into the presentation layer, Jason, right? You got to solve for all of that in creating an application. What else am I forgetting of the complexity that has to go into that?
Yeah, I mean, there are a million things, right? There's scale, there's security, there's data integrity problems, there's data storage problems, there's backups, there's I worked with the military quite a bit, and there's all kinds of contingency plans you have to put into place. And right, as it becomes more mission critical, it becomes more mission critical. And so you have to actually think about those things, and those have to be built into the software. Well, the one thing I like about it, and Jerry kind of hinted on it too, like even professional developers can gain some from it, because I spent a while early on writing. We were building some friends of mine were building some games together. So we were trying to build games. We had a term we used for all of what the programmers would put on the screen when we had a good idea, right? Where we would put something on the screen that like one of our designer friends had come up with.
Yeah.
And it was programmer art is what we called it. And it was ugly and it was horrible. It was functional, really functional, but it looked horrible and was not useful at all. And that is what happens, I think, with a lot of companies when you have internal tools that you're trying to build to shift data around or to automate certain functions. Is it becomes second? It's a second class problem that it be usable. Because the programmers just want to get it done and they put together some horrible Windows Forms thing that nobody actually likes using, or even worse, build it in Access or something. And with the tools now, you can actually build a really pleasant interface very quickly that works on all devices and tablets and web browsers and stuff. And I as a developer don't have to do the thing I'm bad at, which is that UI stuff, right? And getting that right. So it actually cuts both ways. It's a really cool idea. These sort of like 5th generation tool sets for this.
Yeah, when you can ride on top of all of those capabilities. So Teresa, what does the Power Platform bring to the table then? What is it solving for so that we don't have developer art?
It is probably solving for multiple problems, right, that we encounter. So it's definitely improves that user interface and improves the speed, like we already mentioned. But it's also about how it can tap into different parts of your problem, right? So you have Power Apps, and there's different ways to use them. You can integrate that with different solutions like Teams so that users have easy access to it. It captures data. You can store that data where you need to store that data. And then there's the automate feature. And so you can now automate some of those business processes. And if you do need to display that data in a different format, you can use a model-driven app. And actually, it's a really nice user interface. It's basically what Dynamics 365 is built on. And then in addition to that, because it's a solution that's out there, it has its updates every 6 months, and it sits on the cloud, so it's easy to access, and you don't have to worry about when your on-premise environment needs to get a complete overhaul every year or two. It kind of updates itself, so it's a little bit of a less management. So it definitely solves for multiple problems, and then you can use that data to report. I saw, are we talking about Power BI or not? But that's definitely a part of it. So it solves for multiple problems, and it's really about taking an idea and saying, every day I can't get this accomplished because I'm spending this amount of time utilizing Excel or whatever form you're using, and it's very inefficient. And start with that and build it out and see how quick it's going to streamline that business process.
So just to add to that, we're also forgetting that they've got the Power Virtual Agents as well. So it allows us to take some of those advanced functionalities that we normally thought, hey, we definitely need a developer to build us this chat bot that allows us to do whatever process. So being able to combine these products together using Power Virtual Agents tied with the Power Automate, we can then create a chat bot that allows us to automate some sort of process on the back end, whether that be request PTO or request a password reset, create a new case in a CRM environment, and being able to understand how those things tie together, is a combination of not only somebody who kind of understands the development side of things and how the concepts of development work together, and the people who have the vision of what would make their lives easier and give them back the maximum ROI on that investment and give them time back in their day.
That is the goal. All right. So 2 questions. I'm not sure who to ask on this. Somebody speak up. What SKU in a 365 licensing scheme do I pick up the Power Platform?
I can answer that one. There is the Power App per user, and that is great if you are going to develop multiple apps because the users can have unlimited access. But if you're just starting and you only need one, then you can just kind of get away with a Power App per app license. It's still per user, but it only gives you access to a couple to start with.
Okay, excellent. All right, so we've talked about the wonders and the glories of the Power Platform, and so where is it not a good fit for? When, maybe Jerry, I'll go back to you. When you're sitting in front of a customer and maybe a pre-sale sort of a context, you get pulled in and they're saying, here's all the things we want to do, and we want to do it in Power Platform. At what point do you pull the plug and say, no, let's get the developers in?
Because it is a platform, there are limitations there, and restrictions as to what you can do. So really, when you want to bring in the developers and say let's hold off on the Power Platform, is when we're getting into those super complex enterprise level type of applications that are replacing mainframes or something along those lines. That's when you really want to kind of bring in the experts, bring in the developers, and say let's look at this as a whole, as an entire solution, and see what the best part is. Now, I'm not saying Power Platform is not going to be involved in that,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be the only component of that.
Okay, so you just said something super interesting. We're getting lean on time, but the fact that the Power Platform, say, could be the data collection side of an application, while you've got a heavy-duty application on the back end, maybe doing some fancy business with all the data that ultimately gets collected from thousands or millions of users.
Yeah, exactly. So Microsoft has their connectors. There's over 350 different connectors that are out there that are pre-built. And if you're a developer, you can build your own as well for any custom solutions that you might have in your environment.
Okay, super interesting. Jason, how are you feeling? Do we do enough to kind of dispel the fact that not everybody has to be using or actively creating inside of this platform? Maybe they're just users of it.
Yeah, I think so. Right. I think that the goal of the platform is very good, right? And Microsoft, we've talked about this before, you and I for sure. Microsoft's in the business of building tools, right? They're not necessarily opinionated about how you use them, and so they've built this sort of platform, and you can use it however you want. I think it's great. It's great to talk about the things that people don't think about when they get excited about Power Platform, which is security, scale, stuff like that. But the fact that you can build those integrations, kind of like Jerry was talking about, at that level, you can have your professional developers building a system that is secure and scales well, and then the Power Platform becomes the interface to it. That's great. Some of the coolest people I've ever worked with are people that are passionate about whatever it is they know the most about, and want to find a way to get IT out of the way or to have IT help them. And they're going to figure it out, right? Like we had, there's a guy I worked with at the Army, and he figured it out. He wasn't going to let anybody get in his way, and he had the largest Excel spreadsheet I have ever seen in my life. To the point where Microsoft came and like had to study it to see how he was able to get what he was getting done there. And he was able to requisition some massive workstation because he needed
it was the only way to do it.
But he figured it out, right? And so they're going to do it. So why not give them good tools to do that rather than sort of, hamstringing them right at the beginning? So
that is a great comment. In fact, I think a great way for us to go out. It is the top of the hour. Everybody's got meetings to go to. We've got things to do. Thank you so much for spending the past 30 minutes with us. If you want to learn more about the Microsoft Power Platform, well, just go to Microsoft. Shane Young, who we had on here a few weeks ago over at Power Apps 911, another great resource. Or you can call us. We can help you too. So a lot of great resources out there in the world, but the best thing you can do if you're not already familiar with the Microsoft Power Platform, well, just go start trying. See what you can do, see what you can break, and have a great time. Everyone, I am Jeff DeVerter for Rackspace Technology. So glad that you spent your morning with us. We're back here. Well, there's two more things going on this week. Tomorrow at 12:30 Central Time, we're looking to hire some people, and the delivery side too, both in professional services as well as our Elastic Engineering. We're having a career fair. Come learn about some jobs. And then on Thursday, we're back at 8:30 Central Time in the morning for another Rackspace or Solve Live, where we're bringing you some more. I think we're going to get back into that security content some more. So I hope you can attend for that. Everyone, thank you so much for being a part of our program.